this afternoon we're going to have a bit of a change of pace. So this morning was very much culture and we're going to talk about stuff. I'm going to show you me doing stuff. So I'm going to apologise in advance. I can't type in front of people. And if the internet goes down, we're all going to have a good long laugh at me because it's never going to work. But just to give you a bit of a flavour, does anyone recognise this port number? Don't shout out if you do. No? Oh, that's a shame. I was going to get you to come play games with me. Right, so containerisation with Docker. Docker's become this great big buzzword that's happening. Everything's about Docker and containers, but who's actually using it? Few of you. Who's heard of it but isn't quite sure yet? Who absolutely detests the idea? Excellent. I've not got to win anyone over yet. So, containers. What is a container? What's a good definition for it? I went to Google. I like Google. What's a container? Just in general. It's a thing that you put stuff in. If I've got multiple containers, they're all the same shape and size, I can stack them up really easily and store them. So for Google, it's an object for holding or transporting something. Makes sense? A better one is the large metal box of a standard design that is used for transporting goods. So you've seen them all over the place. They'll come off the trains, onto the boats, off the boats, onto the road. Same shipping container, same delivery mechanism. Anything can be put in it. So we've got this idea of being able to go, well, I'm transporting tractors. That's all right, shipping container. I'm transporting computers. Shipping container. I'm transporting crates of apples. Same shipping container. Doesn't matter what's on the inside. The outside's always the same. Wouldn't it be ace? Wouldn't it be brilliant if software delivery was something like this? So this is where the idea of containers came from. Is I've got lots of different types of software. I'm going to have an Apache 7, I'm going to have some MySQL, I have a Node thing, I've got Mongo over there. And every single time I'm trying to set up a new project, I've got multiple different things I've got to pack into this. And I've got to make sure that it all fits and it's all up to date and everything's okay. So, containers are not a new idea. Who's heard of Linux containers? LXC. Yeah, they've been around 20 years, something like that. And sometimes the Linux people get very, very grumpy about Docker and they just go, this is Linux containers, we have been doing it for ages. Docker has a prettier front end though, which is why it's winning the race at the moment. It's not the only one out there. There is Rocket as well. There are good and bad sides to all of them. But the idea is you get this same shaped container with all of your software in. So I've got one container, my Apache config, installs all of that, puts in my PHP website. I've got another container over there, got my MySQL database in with all of the config for that and all the previous data. I can have as many of these containers as I like, stacking up, and they're all the same shape from the outside. All able to be dealt with in the exact same way. So, we're okay with the concept of containers. We're happy with that? Right. So next up, what is Docker? It's a job title. What does a Docker do?
Well, the containers on the ship.
Yeah, went to Google again. Person employed in a port to load and unload ships. So they take whatever container you've given it and they put it in the right place. They don't care about what's inside it. They don't need to. It's the same process no matter what you're dealing with. So Docker came up with this slightly longer version, but it's this idea we're wrapping up your software in this container and the Docker engine is just the mechanism we use to load and unload it from production, from staging, from testing. So it's the same idea no matter where we are. We just wrap everything up in this single container. Pretty cool idea. Works a lot with my infrastructure as code. So normally at this point, someone goes, yeah, but I've had virtual machines for 20 years. I like virtual machines. So there is a difference between how your container works in a virtual machine. Virtual machines, on the left, we have our bare metal server. Even if I'm in the clouds, there is a machine somewhere that it is running on. So someone somewhere has a server. That has a host operating system that is able to deal with whatever's coming in, all the requests. On top of that, we have the hypervisor level. So that sits there and it does all of your hardware emulation. And then we've got very separate, very compartmentalized different virtual machines, each one having its own operating system, its own set of libraries, its own application. And this is okay. You can do this. Your advantage is you're managing to emulate the hardware. So you've always got this extra level of overhead. You've even got it if you didn't really need to emulate the hardware. I just want to run 13 different Ubuntu machines on a host of Ubuntu. Why am I emulating hardware? Well, you've got to. That's how your hypervisor is working. So you've always got this additional overhead, and there's limits to the number of virtual machines you can put on a system before it starts grinding to a halt. I was talking to someone earlier. How many virtual machines was it? Was it someone? No. They had something like 200 virtual machines on a really big box that it all sat on. And it just didn't work if anyone was doing any kind of big batch processing. Might have been you. It was you. Excellent. I wasn't making it up. Right. So we've got this restriction with our virtual machines. On the other side, containers are made up of layered operating systems. So layered file systems all of the time. So we still have our bare metal server. We've still got to have a host operating system, some kind. This has to be Linux-based. Sorry, Windows guys. Nano is coming for you. Nano will get there, and then you'll have containerisation natively in Windows, but so far not been released, not really been announced. But at the moment we're looking at Linux host. Then you've got the Docker engine. Same idea. This is the thing that will load and unload our containers. There is no hardware emulation though. If you want to run a different chipset or something, you can't. That's your restriction. And then I've got, say, 4 applications. 3 of them are Java-based. So I've got 1 copy of the Java runtime that's shared across them all. And then on top of that layer, I add what's specific for each of these applications. So where it can share information, it will. If you've got any change to a file, it goes into the next layer. So you manage to save space and make these containers very, very small, very lightweight, very easy to move around and start up. So in this case, I could have 3 Java things. This one's going to run .NET. This is a separate one, never mind. If I had 2 .NET systems, they'd share the .NET runtime because you wouldn't need to have multiple copies. So are you happy so far? Well, a joy?
So you'd have to, if you had more than 3 apps, you were building that up, would that not, that layer become a bottleneck, that copy of the shared library?
No, so what it will do is it will spawn out additional ones if it's required. So 2 things are trying to read the same file at the same time, it'll go, right, here you go, have something else. But no, it doesn't tend to cause performance bottlenecks. I need to spin up something like 200 on a machine sometime and measure that. Really good idea for a blog post, put it on my wall. I'm going to do that. Right, so let's have a play around with this. You're mostly Windows guys, aren't you? No one loves Linux like me. Yay! People running Linux, you can run it all natively. Excellent, good to know. People running wonderful Macs and people running wonderful Windows, you have to create a little virtual machine in order to run it on. So you can still have it on your Windows machine, that's not a problem. And we do this with the Docker machine. And we can create different virtual machines using different drivers. So here I've got Docker machine, I'm going to create something, I'm going to call it default, and I'm using VirtualBox. Some of you will have other virtual machine systems, VMware, something like that. There is a driver for that. Then what you can do is find out some information and connect to it. So let's give this an actual try. Right, so Docker machine. We'll list the ones I'm connected to, and this is where we test our Wi-Fi. All of them are running on timeout, so that means I've probably got no internet connection. Right, let's try this again. You going to show me them? I think I've lost my internet. We'll fix that in a minute. So you can have multiple of these virtual machines. They don't have to be local, so this is running in VirtualBox. This is my local machine. It's running on that IP address. Again, if you're on Linux, you substitute this with localhost and you're laughing. Everyone else remember this IP address because that will drive you nuts. But I've got other ones. So this one's running in Azure. These 2 will be connecting in AWS. EC2 page. So this is the Amazon cloud. I have 2 little things in here, staging AWS, staging Jenkins, and an experiment that doesn't exist anymore. We're going to play with that one later. Yeah, I know the network changed. I reconnected you. Same thing with Azure. I've got those little clouds running there. So now, let's go have a list our machines again. There we go. So Azure has a really slow response time, so whilst it says timeout, it'll always say that. Don't know why it's so slow. The other 2, we can see that they're up and running and it's connecting. So everything's okay. So step 1 is work out where you want to run something. I'm going to run stuff locally to start with, so I can use Docker machine and tell me the environment setup for this default machine. And it goes, okay, here's all your information. To connect to it, you evaluate that, so you just pipe it straight back in. So I can't type today, so I'm going to copy. Yeah. So Docker machine ls. And hopefully it should show us we've now got an active one. So this is running in VirtualBox. And then you can do whatever you like with it. So we want to create a new container. We always start with hello world. So docker run, create me a new container. I want you to run it in Ubuntu, because I can have that. And I want you to run echo and hello world. And what this will do is it will go off, it creates the container, and it runs whatever command you've got in there. So I've got off, it goes hello world. Brilliant, not so useful. Sometimes it's always good to start with a basic thing. So we can connect to these containers by giving it a couple of flags. So here we're saying I want to have a pseudo terminal and I want to make it interactive. And I'm going to run Ubuntu and I'm going to have bash. And there we go. So we've now got this bash instance, and I can go through and I can tell this, all right, apt-get update, go. And it will go off and it will very, very slowly go and connect to stuff because I'm running on the local network. It's a bit rubbish. So let's exit out of that. And Docker keeps a list of all the processes that it has been running with this Docker PS. So you can see what's currently running. These two have exited. One really important thing to say at this point is containers are not virtual machines. If you want your container to stay alive after it's run the command, you have to have a process in it that's keeping it alive. This is one of the major falling down points where people go, oh, I'll just start it. Well, what are you running? You can't just have it connecting. But there we go. So we've got this little hello world. I can go in, I can install stuff, I can commit it, I can go, here's my new container. Doesn't feel quite so good yet. So let's try having a look at a thing called a Docker file. And these are your ways of scripting the setup of a machine. So here, I'm going to tell it from, go find me this base image, go find me this base operating system. I'm telling this I want it to go run CentOS 6. Excellent, no problem. What it will do is it will go off to the Docker hub. Has anyone had a look at that? Great bit. It's basically GitHub for Docker images. And there are loads of maintained images from different people, so things like Solaris, CentOS, Ubuntu, all have official images because they've all decided they want in on the Docker club. So go have a look at that. Docker hub. I don't have it up. There you go, here's the Docker hub. Right, name me something. Any technology. We'll see if they've got a container for that. Used to be there was an app for it, now there's a container. Skynet? Skynet exists. Cyberdyne Systems. It's an automated build. Who'd have thought? I'm not running it. I'm not being responsible for Skynet. That's not happening. 22 people have. Basically, you've got all of these bits in, and so yesterday they were much more boring. They wanted Oracle Linux. So we've got this official image in there. So you can go have a look for anything you want. There's usually a container for that. It's a case of, it's a bring your own license one. So whilst, this is Oracle Linux here, it's official, it will ask you for your license key or it will start shouting at you. So you do have to pop in that. Sometimes people who are not Oracle may upload copies of the Oracle Linux thing. At that point, you really need to be careful with your corporate licenses because I know our license guy shouts at me a lot. Very important. So, from CentOS, not Skynet. We're not doing Skynet. I want to run these 3 commands, so I'm going to tell it, go off, update yourself, brilliant. Install Java, open JDK, and install the development kit is the other one. I want to have both those. I'm going to copy in a file, hello.java. I'm just going to copy it into the root. You can put it wherever you like. All these commands will run as root in your container. There isn't any kind of, I'm not going to be root for a while. You can switch users with a different command, but by default you're running as root. And then I'm going to run this thing. So I'm going to compile my Java program. Java is much better than JavaScript, incidentally. Just let Dave know. And
you're saying that because he's not in the room.
I know, I can get away with it. So my very, very complicated Java program. So got a main method. Hello world. We okay with this? I can teach you all Java if you like. It seems like it might miss the point today. So, how do we do something with this? So go back one, so example 2. There we go, so we've got my 3 files, my Docker file, had all those commands in, my hello.java, and because Cat can't type in front of people, the commands, so I can just go copy and paste them when I forget what I'm doing. And we can build these containers automatically. So I'm going to build this, you give it a tag, we're going to call this one Hello Manchester. And then this is the next gotcha, dot. You need to give it a context in which it has to look for all the files you're telling it. The amount of people that will miss that dot, I once spent half a day going, why are you not building? What's even going on? Tell it where you want it to build. Oh, and of course, giving it the build command, that would help as well. So go off, build me this, Hello Manchester. Still readable? Excellent. And this will go through, and if you've already got the layer in your, on your machine, building it is that quick. So this has gone off and it's gone, all right, get me CentOS. I've got that already. It's contained in 72.70. Run this update. Okay, do that. Run this, and it's creating this layered up system. So it's nice and quick when I've got everything already installed. And now we can have a look. So Docker images are all of the images you have locally to your machine. So Hello Manchester, created 30 seconds ago. You tell I may have been in London, may have been in Glasgow, a little bit. So, Docker run. And now I need to give it its name, so it's Hello Manchester. Then you give it the command you want it to run. All right? So you go in, you just say, well, Java, go run this. That's all right, it's gone and done something. If I go and change my file, so I'm going to go in here and go, And just to upset Phil more, I'm going to ruffle whilst I am at it. Oh, okay. There you go. So, gone in. I've made a change to my Docker engine, container. Made a change to that. It's a file. I'm going to shove that in source control now. I'm going to version control it. Because if it works, I want to keep using it. And you can tag these images. So I'm going to start with Hello Manchester. This is now version 2. So go off and build. It goes, yeah, I've got all of this bit. Pause a little bit here because I need to actually copy the file in and create a new layer. And now, in my Docker images, I should have, there you go, Hello Manchester. It's got a tag of 2. So you can give these version numbers via the tag system. It's a bit clunky. It won't automate it for you. I'm hoping Docker's working on it. They've promised me they are. But this is our only way of doing that. And now I just do Docker run. I want to run Hello Manchester version 2 Java hello. It'll go off. Hello all from Java. Lol Rafflecopters. So you see, building up containers really quite easy. So we're happy with that so far? Yeah? Let's have a look at a more interesting example because this is boring. Right. There you go. Example number 3. Here's my Docker file. Bit more meaty. Right, so from Ubuntu, starting with that operating system, I've not given it a tag, so it's going to pull down the latest one automatically. Maintainer, I could put me in there. You can put comments in. And then I'm telling it, okay, go off, get me this new repository. I'm going to install Oracle Java. So anyone who's put this into a script, it'll look very familiar. Going to accept the relevant terms in the license agreement, tell it to go off and install. Then I'm going to go off and get this wonderful file. Minecraft.download versions, 1.8. Adrian's not around, right? No, excellent. It's an entirely work program, remember that. And then I'm going to copy in this script. So go off, get me my script. Going to pop it in there. I'm going to make it executable. Need to do that with the script, otherwise it's not going to be able to go. And we've got this expose. Now, whilst shipping containers are very, very self-contained things, you can't just have a peek inside it. What the expose bit does is you cut a hole in and you say, normally, no port is accessible in a container, none at all. I want explicitly to make 25565 available to the outside world. So you tell it, I'm going to expose this out. Equally, it's not good practice to store data inside your container. you should be able to kill them off and restart them at will. So what you want to do is give it, I don't want to use the word rubbish shoot, but sort of this way in and out for the data to happen. So I'm going to persist it in something /data. It's going to go off and store on the host system rather than in my container. And then I'm going to accept some end-user license agreements. I'm sure the legal people think that will be entirely reasonable. And then the command bit is, what do I want you to run when the container starts? This is a way of giving it a default start point. So I've got this, my script. It's going to go off, it's going to run some kind of Java program, give it some memory. Don't know what this Minecraft server lock is. It's terrible, definitely work. So, example 3. So if I'm going to build this, Docker build, give it a tag, no, we're not in Glasgow anymore, man. Chester, Minecraft, and I'm going to pop it in here. So this is going to go off, same thing as before. I've built this before on my machine, nice and quick, got to here. I've now got a container that I can run. There's this thing called the Docker Hub where you can push your container off to. We just talked about it earlier. So I can tell this go push. It took about 2 hours for me to push this one earlier, so it's already up there. And then you can just go, right, I'm going to pull that down onto any machine I like. But let's give it a go at running this. Right, so commands. Because I never remember how to do it. Right, Docker run. I'm going to map some ports for me. So I'm going to have 25565 on the Linux host, mapping to 25565 inside the container. So that's just going to be a one-to-one mapping. You don't have to make them match. How many services run on port 8080? I mean, really. You can have them all on one machine running on different ports externally, but internally they're all going, no, mate, I'm on 8080, mate, I'm the best. So you can do this mapping. -D says, I'm going to make this a detached process. Go run it in the background. I don't want to see all the output, I just want you to go off and do it. And then you give it the name. So this is Kizzy/Minecraft. So we called it Manchester Minecraft. So go off, and it goes, yeah, right, I'll give you something back. Let's have a look at my process list. So this start script has started up a process that's keeping the container alive. If you want to see what's going on inside it, we can have a look at the logs. This is the current command prompt, so everything that's going to system out. And you just give it its ID. So 20E7, that's enough. You don't have to give the full one, as long as it can work out which one you're after. Or you can give it its lovely name. It's decided to call this one Boring Kirch. Comes up with some amazing names. You can specify them. There we go. So this is what the logs are doing. So it spawned my area. All right, let's go play with this then. Right, step 1. Yeah. Get my IP address. Totally work program here. Edit. So is that the right bit? Boom. Correct port. Let's go to. There we go. Work program up and running. Who plays Minecraft? Who has kids that play Minecraft? Who would like a Minecraft server in 2 lines? You're a bit slow for me, aren't you? You going to log me in? Oh, failed to connect. What's going on with that? It quite possibly has. That's definitely there. Docker PS. Docker logs 420E7. What's it got to say for itself? Sorry, I lost the connection. So you can go have a look. I think I've lost my internet again, because that's trying to authenticate my username and password.
So has that basically created an environment and deployed Minecraft into it?
Yep.
So in my non-agile world, where we've got a stable application, we use a product from Revision called Rapid Deploy. That's how we package the code up. Is that a similar sort of thing, or is that?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, similar idea. So it's a way of getting all this, putting it in a box, and then going, here you go, server. Off you go down.
it's a full environment in the box.
Yep.
Can I just ask a question? You said that
course,
Docker stuff runs as root.
Mm.
Now you're exposing an application to the internet that's potentially running as root.
Yeah, that's its major criticism.
Right.
So
Minecraft gets hacked. What does that do? Is it contained?
So
within the Docker
it's contained within the container. No one can actually get outside that container. So they can go in, they can mess with something, they can bring your Minecraft server down, but they can't see any other containers that are running. There's complete separation between them. And if you change any of the files, you create a new layer, so even the other containers that are sharing that information don't get that new bit. So you're only ever going to affect your internal one.
And if you drop that machine and then bring it back up again, so that document should bring it back up again, does it retain the changes that were done by whoever's getting control of it?
No. So it goes back to the version that you've got stored. It goes back to your golden image.
Yeah.
So it goes and gets that bit back. So let's try connecting again. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to go put it in AWS instead and see if that's better. There we go. Minecraft. Minecraft in a line. Now I can punch things. All right. Disconnect from that. So at the beginning, I had a load of different machines that I was doing. So certificates. Docker machine. ls. So I can actually go off and connect to these however I want. So I've got these two here in AWS. If I want to connect to one of those, it is just simply a case of going, well, I'll need to evaluate the output of Docker machine for staging Jenkins. Okay. Right, I'm connected to the Jenkins machine. Completely seamless from my point of view, I don't care. I was running locally, now I'm running in AWS. All right, who's had to install Jenkins before now? No, it's not that complicated a process. It takes a couple of minutes, right? It's all right. So let's time this. Right, Docker run. I'm going to need to open the port 8080. I'm just going to do that. Want it to run as a detached process. Jenkins. Right, go. So if it can't find an image, it goes off to the server. It pulls it down, and you can see here, these are the different layers. So the top one, the big one, that's the base operating system. And I'm going to be really impatient in a minute because I know how long this takes, and yet it's still too slow for me. So I'll go off and get that. It'll probably get the load of updates, and then it has to unpack it, and it applies layer by layer each one that's going across. So, come on, extracting. We're almost there. It's a very complicated setup, this. Since doing cloud, I've become very impatient with operating systems. I mean, seriously, how have you not finished? Yeah, I know you've got to unpack. This is not the Wi-Fi. This is Amazon's network and the fact I've only spun up a little tiny machine in there, to be honest. Oh, we're almost there. Let's get getting it. Right, gone. 55 seconds. Right, remember this time. So, in that case, I should be able to go to my staging Jenkins machine, go get its IP address, and go have a look at 8080. And I should, with any luck, have Jenkins up and running. Just like that. Okay, brilliant. So what happens if I want a second one? Well, let's run it on port 8181. The second time I want to do this, 0.632 seconds. Because it's got everything locally, I can now spawn a second one. It'll be there. It'll be setting itself up. So, port 8181. Jenkins machine number 2. And it is that quick. So if you suddenly need to get 4, 5, 10 more containers, brilliant, go do it. Create a script, does a for loop. For 1 to 10, run this, give it a new port number, got it sorted. Seconds, and you're deploying new services. So we have Minecraft. I like Minecraft more. So Docker machine, show me my machines. I've got one called staging in AWS. Or do you want to have a look at Azure? It's exactly the same in either case. So cat evaluate Docker machine, and I'm going to get the environment details for cat Docker Azure. And it goes, all right, brilliant. Docker machine ls. Have a look at this. Right, I'm now connected to this one. I've got cat Docker Azure Cloud App.net, and it's running on port 2376. So this is just what Docker needs to run on. Right, what was my command for a Minecraft server? There we are. Right, pop in there. So go off, run it. Here's my ports, here's my daemon. All sorted. It goes, yeah, right, I've started it. This one's decided to call itself Reverend Mayor. That if you give it dash name, you can call it something slightly more sensible. But I didn't really want to. Right, so in here, cat-docker, Azure, cloudapp.net, same port. That looks good, right? Let's go. 2 lines, 1 Docker container. Very impatient. Yeah, this is our Wi-Fi being slow. But I'm a very impatient person when it comes to my servers because it's just like 0.2 seconds. Brilliant. Sorted. I've built something. Now connect. Come on.
Isn't it funny in the world of cloud that these days you get impatient with a 60-second wait? Whereas before it was 5 emails, 2 meetings, 15 weeks. Plug it in.
So Docker logs. I'm going to go have a look at what's going on. 4. So trying to go, bomb, lost connection, disconnected. So I have been trying to connect. It just disconnected me because this is our Wi-Fi. The authenticator. I think Minecraft might have an issue today. That's great, isn't it? Oh, wow. So in theory, I've got my Minecraft server. It's all gone off and sorted. So my last sort of little example I was going to show you. I've got this experiment. So, experiment. Right. So,
Last question. With pushing Minecraft up to your, did you physically upload the image you had locally?
So it's gone into the Docker Hub, and then I pulled it earlier.
Yeah.
This one's going to do it all in one go.
Okay.
So I'm going to time it. Going to go off, create a new machine. I'm going to call it experiment. Let's call it something more interesting. Auto. Oh, Christ. Can't type today, can I? Right. Auto experiment. It's probably right. Okay, I'm going to go do that. Driver. Secret access keys, don't take photos. It's fine, I'm going to delete them after this. Tell it what virtual private cloud I want it to run in. I'm going to go give it the security group that's entirely and totally secure if all TCP ports are open. Don't do that in production. I'm going to tell it where I want it to run. And I don't currently have a virtual machine called Auto Experiment. We can go have a look. I'll prove it. So I've got one called Experiment. That might have been me trying this before lunch. There you go, I've only got those 2. So tell it, go off and create me a machine, go connect to my machine, and go get me Minecraft. Now, that seems like something that's slightly far too easy for this to work. So I'm going to set this off going and then talk about some other stuff because it takes about 5 minutes, if that. So experiment.sh. So it's going off, launching instance. Let's go confirm it is. Have a look here. There we go. Started me up a new instance. This was pending, so it's just creating at the moment. We'll see how long it takes to go from complete nothing, downloading my full image off the Docker Hub, and running and connecting. So let's have a look at my slides in the meantime. So you're okay with this idea of using the virtual machines? Being able to skip between them. So I can be connected to something local, then I can go, right, that works, so push that image into the hub, connect to testing, pull the image, set off running. Hey, test guys, sorted, you ready? All right, it's gone through testing, everything's okay, so I just connect straight through to my staging environment, my production, just go, same command, go run. It's running in the same environment across them all, so we don't need to worry about this. So Docker files, infrastructure as code, really important. This I can drop into source control. Any project that I'm involved with now, in the main root of the directory, because we've got a pom.xml, because I'm doing Maven, got some other stuff, I've also got my Docker file. So as part of the tool chain that we're using, I check something into Git. Jenkins wakes up and goes, ooh, new code, I'm going to grab that, I'm going to compile it, I'm going to test it. Part of my post-build steps are I'm going to build the container. If the container passes and is built, I'm going to push it to the hub. I then have the Docker hub that wakes up and goes, oh, I've got a new thing. Hey, Puppet, got a new thing. Puppet goes, all right, I'll grab that then. Right, we're running this version, pushes it all out. End to end. Nothing I need to do. I just check in some source code. And as long as you've got your tests in there, at every stage, repeatable, reliable, testable, really, really quick and easy. So you, coming from an enterprise background, I suspect me going, Docker Hub, it's freely available, anyone can search your images. You're thinking, no, they can't. You're not having my licensing group. You can have your own Docker hub. You don't have to use their main hub. That's just kind of the open source version. You can either pull down your own registry image, run it locally, runs on port 5000, just sits there. Because whenever I'm telling it, go get me Ubuntu, what I'm telling it is go off to the default server, which is the Docker registry, and pull in that. There are also trusted registry services in both AWS and Azure. There probably are in other clouds. So you can actually go and tell it, I'm going to use this one, not that one. And you can block that one from your network entirely so that no one can accidentally push something into the public domain. But it's a case
of one of our next questions.
Yep. Just block it entirely. Just go, nope, you can't do it. And then it's a case of, all right, got some new code, going to update my build file, going to patch some stuff, right, I'm going to build it, give it a version number. And I do admit this is one of the downsides, it doesn't do it for you. So you have to have, like, after this, it would be :3, :4, :Manchester. Doesn't have to be a number. When we had CentOS, it was CentOS : CentOS 6. That was the tag I was after. And then any way you want it, you can just run it. You can pull it down without running it with Docker pull, but run will grab it if it needs it. So deploy to cloud. There is a driver for just about anything. So I'm using VirtualBox locally, it's free. Brilliant. I'm using AWS because Phil showed me how to use AWS about a year ago, and I went, oh, mine. I've got the one that's working with Azure now because a week ago I was chatting to Microsoft and they went, hey, you should use our example in your thing. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Got an Azure cloud. It's the same idea across it. You just give it a different driver and whatever information it requires, and it'll go off and build it. Let's have a look how this is going. Oh, there we go. Port is already in use. Yeah. So my experiment has gone wrong. Right, so remember this number, 3 minutes 48. That was how long it took to launch my instance. Does it exist? Auto experiment is there. Right, so let's connect to it, see what's happened. Auto experiment. Put my $sign in. Very important to put your $signs in. Right, so it's not running there, so let's just time this final bit. 3 minutes 48 plus, well, this is going off, downloading. Big one, base operating system, that's Ubuntu. This one is when I downloaded the Minecraft jar into the file. So they'll take a while to go. Oh, it's finished top one, extracting. They are optimising this bit at the moment. It's very sequential because it takes the base and then it applies the next layer. So they're working on an optimisation strategy for this. It should be coming soon. Definitely soon. Never had any more details than that. So gone through, unpacking, applying all my changes. Right, so there we go, so plus 49 seconds. So what's 3 minutes 48 plus 49 seconds? Less than 5 minutes then. There we go, so one Docker machine, if my script had decided to work and I hadn't lost the internet midway through, would be start to end, I've just created a new machine. It's all shiny, it's there. And let's see if the login servers have come up yet. I'm going to have a new server, I'm going to call it Minecraft server 25565, done. Ta-da!